Okay. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Maryland Public Service Commission's administrative meeting for January the 10th, 2017. Let's begin with our minutes from the January 3rd administrative meeting. I will move to approve the minutes. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Minutes are approved. On to our consent agenda.
Mr. Chairman, we have one item on the consent agenda this morning. Item 1 is Metropolitan Telecommunications of Maryland, Inc., DBA Mettel, filed revised tariff pages. The company proposes to increase business local calling per minute and some non-recurring rates.
Any questions on the consent agenda? If not, do we have a motion?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. I move that we accept the tariff revisions for filing and direct the company to file clean copies of the tariff revisions with an effective date of January 10th, 2018.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion carries.
First item on the administrative agenda, item 2 is Bandwidth.com CLEC LLC, filed an application to transfer indirect control to David A. Morgan.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. Kenneth Albert on behalf of staff. This item addresses a filing by Bandwidth.com CLEC, which I'll refer to as Bandwidth, and requests Commission authorization to transfer indirect ownership of Bandwidth to Mr. David Morgan in connection with the planned restructuring of stock by Bandwidth's direct parent, Bandwidth, Inc., related to an anticipated initial public offering, or IPO, by Bandwidth, Inc. Bandwidth is a wholly owned subsidiary of Bandwidth, Inc. The Commission has authorized Bandwidth to provide facilities-based and resold local exchange and inter-exchange telecommunications services. Mr. Morgan is Bandwidth, Inc.'s co-founder. He's also the Chief Executive Officer and Chairman of the Board of Directors. Bandwidth is a privately held corporation, also known as a closed corporation. Because the acquirer here, Mr. Morgan, does not constitute a public service company under the Public Utilities Article, authorization of the acquisition is not required under PUA 6101, C3 or C4. Also, because he is not a corporation, authorization of the transaction is not required under PUA 6101, C4 or 5-203. Therefore, authorization is not required. The acquisition, though, is in the public interest because it will provide Bandwidth with additional capital and resources to better compete in telecommunications markets. Therefore, staff recommends that the Commission note the transaction.
All right, thank you. Any questions for staff? If not, do we have a motion?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. I move we note the transfer of indirect ownership of the company to Mr. David A. Morgan.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Next item, item 3 is Bluff Point Wind Facility, filed an application for certification as a renewable energy facility for the Maryland Renewable Energy Portfolio Standard Program.
Good morning, Chairman, Commissioners. Michael Dean on behalf of staff. Item 3 is an application for certification as a renewable energy facility under the State Renewable Energy Portfolio Standard, filed by Bluff Point Wind LLC for its 119.7 megawatt wind energy facility located near Portland, Indiana. Under Comar 20.61.02 and Public Utilities 7-701, a facility wishing to obtain renewable energy credits for participation in the Maryland Renewable Energy Portfolio Standard must show that it generates electricity using either a Tier 1 or Tier 2 source, complies substantially with Maryland environmental standards, and is located in an eligible area. The Bluff Point Wind Facility qualifies as a Tier 1 source and is located within PJM, an eligible area under the statute, and thus qualifies for certification. Staff recommends that the Commission approve the application and issue a renewable energy facility ID certification number as specified in staff comments. If the information on which the application is based should change, the applicant should be directed to file a notice with the Commission within 30 days.
Thank you. Any questions, Commissioner O'Donnell?
Just kind of curious if staff looked at the potential value of these RECs for this facility. I note it's a 119.7 megawatt wind facility in Indiana. And it doesn't have to be accurate, but just to have a sense of how much we're talking about here at the current values of RECs.
Alexander Speck for staff. We basically just look at whether the facility meets the requirements. That's pretty
Understood. I'm trying to get a sense of how much money's flowing out of state all the time, and not developing supply chains here and facilities here. It does help us meet our RPS goals, but it certainly doesn't help our economic development, in my opinion. So that's why I asked the question. I'm trying to figure that out, because I think about 75% of our recs go to out-of-state facilities.
Staff will provide that information to you in an email later.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Anything else on this item? If not, do we have a motion?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I move the commission approve the application and issue a renewable energy facility certification number, direct the company to establish a REC account with PJM GATS within 30 days of certification, and direct the company to file notice with the commission within 30 days of any changes to the information in the application.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Mr. Chairman, last item on the agenda, item number 4 is Washington Gas Light Company filed revised tariff pages. The company proposed to amend its general service provisions relating to the installation of excess flow valves.
Morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. Annette Garofalo on behalf of Commission staff. As the Executive Secretary noted, Washington Gas Light Company wishes to revise its gas service tariff by including language regarding installation of excess flow valves on the gas service line of a requesting and eligible customer. Excess flow valves are safety devices that are designed to restrict the flow of gas through the service line when the service line is severely damaged or cut completely through. The excess flow valve is installed as close as practicable to the service line's connection to the gas main. As of April 14th, the Federal Gas Pipeline Safety Regulations also require the installation of excess flow valves on new and renewed branch service lines serving single-family residences, multi-family residences, and small commercial entities, consuming gas volumes not exceeding 1,000 standard cubic feet per hour. CFR Part 192 requires operators to notify customers of their right to request installation of an excess flow valve on service lines that are not newly installed or replaced, and WGL has been providing this notice since April 14th. FSMA has left the question of who bears the cost of installing excess flow valves on service lines not being newly installed or replaced to the operator's rate-setting agency. That would be, in this case, the Commission. Since a qualifying customer with a new or repaired service line will receive an EFV at no cost, staff recommends that a customer requesting an EFV on an existing line should be responsible for the incremental costs above the material costs of the valve. This would maintain the price signal, as the incremental costs would still be significant. However, it will maintain equity among customers, since the costs of materials associated with an EFV installation for a new or repaired service line are recovered through rates. Therefore, the material cost of the EFV associated with requested EFV installations should also be recovered through rates. This amount would be treated as a contribution in aid of construction. Staff recommends the Commission accept WGL's tariff for filing to be effective January 10th, 2018.
Thank you, Ms. Garofalo. I thought we had approved all of these tariffs. I guess I didn't realize Washington Gas was outstanding. Do you know why this is coming in so late?
I don't know, but I do think this is your last one.
Okay. Any questions for staff? We have the company
Oh,
here.
excuse me, I'm reminded that Easton has not,
Easton is not.
so
All right.
we can contact them.
All right, thank you. Okay, let's hear from Mr. Dodge.
Good morning, Chairman Hughes, Commissioners. John Dodge, appearing on behalf of Washington Gas. To answer the Commission's question, respectfully, we think that our current tariff complies with the PHMSA rule and allows us the latitude to both not charge for the flow valve itself and to charge for the incremental expense. Ms. Garofalo was kind enough to call me and suggest that we should clarify our tariff, so that's why we're a little later than the other LDCs.
All right, thank you. Any questions, Commissioner Richard?
I'd just be interested to know, have you had many customers request having the flow valve replaced?
Since the rule went into effect, we've had 2. Both called in. We don't know how they came to know about their right to request, but we've had 2. So
Just 2. And Was it approximately in that $2,000 to $3,000 cost range?
I believe they were, I provided this to staff, I believe they were closer to $1,500.
Okay, so it was actually below.
Yes.
Okay, and are you notifying them through these bill inserts? Is that the
We're
primary
doing a
or the
bill
only way you're doing
insert.
it?
Bill insert website, and it's also in our annual customer handbook and has been for the last couple of years.
Great, thank you.
Commissioner Herman.
Good morning, Mr. Dodge. So a customer, I'm just trying to understand, a customer calls up and then you go out there and you make an estimate based on their specific situation of that specific customer?
That's correct.
Okay.
So if we have to remove paving, the price is going to go up. If we can do it without that, the price would be lower.
Right. And how are these funds treated once they come in?
We've had some discussions between myself and staff. Normally, I think of a kayak as an offset to a capital investment. This time, the kayak is to offset the expense, the installation expense. But in either way, we don't want the price or the cost of the installation to hit rate base. So it is recorded as some sort of income, but as an offset to any increase in rate base. So rate base is not impacted by the installation expense, and then the $10 or $60, whatever it is for us, the cost of the flow valve is capitalized and included in rate base.
Right.
And I may have to defer to Ms. Ward and Mr. Patterson to explain my procedures more than that.
That's Jennifer Ward on behalf of staff. That's how I understand it too, and that's how we've approved it for the past companies that come in. So it just makes it so that the cost of the valve is in rate base and will be in rates, but the additional cost is only for that customer. So it's an accounting treatment, so I might have to go to Mr. Patterson, but Mr. Dodge explained it how I understand it as well.
Felix Pass, on behalf of staff. Good morning, commissioners.
Good morning.
That's correct. Our understanding is when it comes in, it goes into construction work in progress, and once it's completed, it comes out of construction work in progress, and the only piece that hits the rate base is going to be the valve itself. That's the material. And again, that's the way it's been treated with all the other companies as well.
Right. So it comes off of O&M? It hits, it's a, sort of, I get that it doesn't go into rate base, but...
So the O&M expense is recorded and then offset by the customer contribution. So that's a...
So it's a wash.
Net
That
wash.
was where I was trying
Yes.
to get to. So it's a wash on the O&M. Okay.
Correct.
Thank you very much.
Anything else on this item? Okay, if not, thank staff. Thank you, Mr. Dodge. Do we have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, for item number 4, I move we accept the tariff revisions for the filing and direct the company to file clean copies of the tariff revisions with an effective date of January 10, 2018.
Is there a second?
Second?
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, that's our last item. We are adjourned.